I thought this was gonna be a normal night shift. Scan some groceries, take the money, judge people silently, and go home. But this store has one small problem. Some of the customers are not people, and if I let even one of them inside, my shift does not end with a bad review. It ends with me becoming tonight's special offer. Welcome to the safest grocery store in Roblox. By safest, I mean there is a shotgun behind the counter and a warning telling me not to trust anyone. That is usually a very healthy sign. My job sounds simple. Customers walk up to the window, I inspect them, and then I decide whether to let them enter or send them away. Normal human? Accepted. 8-foot tall nightmare pretending to buy cereal? Rejected. The problem is that the monsters are trying to look normal. Some of them make it extremely obvious. Others look like regular customers until you notice one tiny detail that makes your brain say, maybe do not open that door. I also have a quota to complete before the night ends because apparently even during a supernatural invasion, management still cares about productivity. Nothing can defeat capitalism, not even skin-stealing demons. The first customer arrived, and honestly, he looked normal. 2 eyes, 1 mouth, human-shaped head, already better than half the people I meet online. I checked him from every angle, waited for something horrifying to happen, and finally let him through. He walked inside without attacking me. Perfect. 1 customer served, 0 deaths, employee of the month incoming. The next few people were also normal, which somehow made me more nervous. In horror games, peace is never peace. Peace is just the game loading something terrible behind the wall. Then this customer appeared. At first glance, nothing seemed wrong, but the longer I looked, the worse it got. The face was slightly off, like somebody had tried to recreate a human from memory after seeing one picture 10 years ago. I stared at him, he stared at me. Neither of us moved. This was no longer customer service. This was a staring competition with possible murder. I rejected him. The second the gate closed, I felt like a genius. My survival instincts were incredible. My detective skills were unmatched. Then a completely normal customer arrived, and I rejected him too. So maybe do not hire me for airport security. Every decision matters because rejecting too many humans can ruin the shift. But accepting one monster can ruin my entire body. That creates a very stressful situation where I am inspecting every face like a suspicious parent checking a teenager's phone. Why are your eyes like that? Why are you smiling? Why did your head move before the rest of your body? And most importantly, why are you buying 1 banana at 2 in the morning? The store slowly became darker and the noises behind me started getting louder. There was a storage room connected to the counter. During the day, it probably contains boxes and cleaning supplies. At night, it contains anxiety. I heard footsteps from inside, not quick footsteps, slow ones, the kind of footsteps that want you to know they are coming. So naturally, I went to investigate, because Roblox horror characters have never heard of leaving. I opened the door, I looked around, nothing. Just shelves, boxes, and enough darkness to hide every bad decision I had ever made. I stepped farther inside. The footsteps stopped. That is always worse. If something is making noise, at least I know where it is. When the noise stops, it could be anywhere. Behind the shelf, behind the door, directly behind me, preparing to turn my spine into a collectible. I checked the corners, grabbed what I needed, and returned to the counter with the speed of an employee who had suddenly remembered an urgent meeting somewhere else. Another customer was waiting, but I had already seen this customer. Same clothes, same face, same expression. Either the store had 2 identical twins shopping alone at the same time, or somebody had copied and pasted a human. I looked through the window, then back toward the store. The first version was still inside. That was the moment the job changed. Before this, I was looking for strange faces. Now, I knew the creatures could copy people who had already passed the test. This meant every normal customer could become evidence against the next normal customer. Imagine being rejected from a grocery store because someone else had your face. Actually, that is still better customer service than some stores. I rejected the copy. It stood outside for a few seconds completely still, as if it was thinking about how badly it wanted to remove my organs. Then it disappeared into the darkness. I would like to say I stayed calm. I did not. From that point on, I checked everything. The face, the clothes, the posture, the way they moved. I even watched the people already inside because the game had now taught me that the danger did not end when I pressed accept. One customer walked in normally, but something about the movement felt wrong. It was too smooth, too controlled, like a robot trying to act casual after reading the definition of walking. I kept watching until the customer disappeared between the shelves. Then the lights flickered. For 1 second, the store went completely black. When the lights came back, the customer was standing closer to me. Not walking, just closer. That is not shopping. That is teleporting with bad intentions. I backed away from the window and remembered the shotgun. Management had not explained when I was allowed to use it, but I assumed customer violates the laws of physics was probably covered in the employee handbook. I picked it up. Suddenly I felt much safer. Not safe, just slightly less edible. The game continued sending customers, and the quota kept rising. This is where the pressure becomes really effective. You cannot spend forever studying each person because you need to complete the shift, but rushing is exactly how a monster gets through. One face looked strange, so I rejected it. Human. One face looked perfectly normal, so I accepted it. Monster. I had officially reached the level of detective where flipping a coin would be an improvement. Then I heard movement in the storage room again. This time, it was faster. Something knocked over a box. I turned around, aimed the shotgun, and waited. Nothing came through the door. A customer knocked on the window behind me. I turned back. It had no business looking that calm. The customer was smiling, but the smile did not move with the rest of the face. It looked attached, like somebody had placed it there 5 minutes before arriving. I rejected it immediately. The customer did not leave. It kept staring through the glass. Then the lights went out again. I heard the storage room door open. Now I had something outside the window and something inside the building. This is what experts call a terrible work environment. I stayed near the counter and listened. One step, then another. The footsteps came closer. I aimed toward the darkness, waiting for the creature to appear. For a few seconds, nothing happened. Then a figure moved between the shelves. I fired. The sound was so loud that I probably scared the monster, the customers, and every minimum wage employee in a 5-mile radius. The figure disappeared. I had no idea whether I hit it, but the footsteps stopped, so I counted that as excellent customer service. I returned to the window, and the smiling customer was gone. Great, not defeated, not dead, just somewhere else. Exactly what I wanted. The final part of the shift was complete chaos. Customers arrived faster. Some were obvious monsters, others were copies. A few looked normal but behaved strangely enough to make me question everything. At this point, I was not checking for proof. I was checking for vibes. Normal vibes? Enter. Murder vibes? Goodbye. Slightly unusual haircut? I am sorry, but the store is closed. The quarter was almost complete when one more customer appeared. It looked completely normal. No strange face, no unusual movement, no obvious duplicate. I was about to accept it. Then I noticed someone standing inside the store. The exact same person. The original was facing away from me near the shelves. The copy outside slowly raised its head. The person inside turned around at the same time. Both of them looked directly at me. That was easily the creepiest moment of the entire game. No jump scare, no loud sound, just two identical people moving together, waiting for me to choose the wrong one. I rejected the customer outside. The person inside immediately started running toward the counter, so that was not the original. Excellent. I grabbed the shotgun and backed into the storage room while the thing rushed through the store. It moved much faster than a normal player, slamming into shelves and cutting through the darkness. I fired once. It kept coming. I fired again. For a moment it disappeared behind the counter and I thought I had stopped it. Then its head rose above the window. I ran. There was no strategy anymore. No careful inspection. No employee handbook. Just me, a shotgun, and a creature that had clearly never heard the phrase, "The customer is always right," because this customer was extremely wrong. I circled through the storage room, reloaded, and waited near the doorway. The footsteps approached. This time, I did not move. The creature entered. I fired at close range. It finally dropped. The lights came back. The store became quiet. And somehow, after all of that, the game expected me to return to work. So I did, because I was one customer away from the quota, and I was not repeating the entire shift because of one discount doppelganger. The final customer looked normal. I checked the face. Normal. Checked the clothes. Normal. Checked the store for copies. Nothing. I pressed accept. The customer entered, the quota completed, and the shift finally ended. I survived. My reward was not money, a promotion, or emotional support. My reward was being allowed to leave. Honestly, fair enough. So where does this game belong on the horror tier list? The main idea is really strong. Inspecting customers sounds simple, but the game constantly gives you reasons to doubt yourself. The best moments are not the loud jump scares. They are the quiet moments when somebody looks almost normal and you have to decide whether almost is good enough. The atmosphere also works. The dark store, the storage room footsteps, the flickering lights, and the copies appearing at the worst possible moment create real tension. However, the gameplay can become repetitive once you understand the system. You spend a lot of time waiting for customers and checking similar details. Some shifts also depend on whether the game gives you interesting anomalies or 5 normal people in a row, so I would place this game in B tier. It is not the most terrifying Roblox horror game I have played, but it has a clever concept, some genuinely creepy moments, and enough chaos to make the night shift memorable. Also, any job that gives me a shotgun before giving me proper training deserves at least a B. Would I work another shift? Absolutely not. Will I play another shift because horror games have destroyed my ability to make responsible decisions? Probably. Subscribe if you want to see which Roblox horror game enters the tier list next. And remember, if a grocery store customer looks exactly like someone already inside, do not open the door. Also, maybe stop shopping at 2 in the morning. Nothing good is happening near the frozen food section at 2 in the morning.